Hey guys, Kevin here. So today I want to talk about something that's really picking up steam in the media, especially over the last few days. It's this idea that civil unrest could be coming to the United States and throughout Europe. Now, we've already seen some civil unrest in Europe, mostly small riots, things like that, some small looting. And that's something we expect anytime there's a natural disaster, national emergency. I worked in New Orleans after Katrina as a nurse. I saw what happened there, and it is scary and it's bad. Guys, looting happens, rioting happens, but for the most part in New Orleans, people who were good, people who wanted to protect their property, law-abiding people, they stayed in their houses, they protected their homes with their weapons, and it wasn't so bad. The people who were looting mostly stores and big corporations. But what was really scary wasn't the looting itself, because people were able to defend their property. What was scary was the government's heavy-handed response when they started taking away people's ability to defend their property, when they tried to order people out of their homes or take away their firearms. That's what I'm more worried about in a situation like this. But all of this is in response to some statements put out by the International Red Cross and Red Crescent. By the way, the Red Cross is bad enough. Maybe they did some good back in World War II, but like all of these big charities, they, go read what they did in Haiti after the earthquake. You'll see why I hate them. But the Red Crescent, they're way worse. There's a reason why when you go to Africa, when you go to Asia, when you go to South and Central America, you see Christians and Christian organizations building homes, building schools. You never see a Muslim charity down there building people's wells and things like that. And it's just a observable contrast between the two different ideologies. So yeah, I don't like either of these organizations. But anyway, the head of the Red Crescent Red Cross Coalition warned that riots could be imminent in the next few weeks in low-income neighborhoods and is due to extreme wealth inequality that has left households unprepared. Now, of course, all of these organizations, like the big corporations, big charities, all of these organizations right now, the NGOs especially, they're all run by left-wing radicals. And that has a lot to do with, the subversion into the big universities, the Ivy League, things like that. They've all been brainwashed and they have extreme white guilt. A lot of these people who run these organizations are from very wealthy families, just like we saw with Carlos Maza, the Champagne Socialists. Anyway, they go on, they say, and this is a quote from the president of the International Red Cross, Francisco Roca. He said, "As we've noted before, in many Western households, we're already stretched thin before the shutdown began, with little savings, insurmountable debt, and lack of access to proper health care." Of course, they throw that in there too. We have access to proper health care here in America. Some people choose not to buy insurance, and there are some people who really can't afford it, but there's programs for those people. And when you see people who are uninsured, it's usually people who choose not to be. And they say, insurmountable debt. And that's true. We have families in America right now who weren't prepared for a $500 emergency. And I used to be just like that. I had that same behavior, and it was because of my first wife. I was very good about saving money. I had almost $50,000 in the bank when I got out of the Army, more in other investments. And she was just like, all right, spend all your money. Just, don't worry about it. We'll make it back. It's just money. And I sort of caught that bug from her. And I think it's a very feminine way of looking at things. And I think the feminization of America, on top of the behavior we're seeing from our government, who debt spend and borrow more money that we're never going to be able to pay back, it's a cultural thing. And until we change behaviors, it's just like the school systems. If you don't change the behaviors, no matter how much money or how many resources you throw at a problem, it's not going to fix it. You can give people $1,000 or $2,000 stimulus checks. What do you think they're going to do? If that $1,000 doesn't cover their mortgage payment, what do you think they're going to do with it? Well, they'll go spend it. They'll just, say, screw it. I wasn't going to pay the mortgage anyway, and I'm not going to be able to pay it next month. Let me go buy something from Amazon. Let me buy the box set of my, favorite Blu-ray or sitcom or whatever. They're going to go buy something stupid, something that has no value whatsoever. And I buy a lot of stuff myself, obviously. But I buy stuff like this. A 1 ounce of gold chain here, and then a platinum coin. This is always going to have value. So when I do buy stuff, and I have that habit because I'm an addict, I always have to have an addiction. My addiction is collecting. So if you are going to buy stuff and you're going to have that bad behavior, start buying stuff that is an investment, something that will appreciate. Even my comic book collection, it has appreciated. So anyway, they're blaming this on that lack of access to healthcare, lack of funds, the debt bubble we've seen, the domestic debt bubble we've seen. And they're saying that with the low-income neighborhoods and wealth inequality that we're going to see civil unrest occur. Now, this has already happened in places like Italy. We've seen riots, and especially in immigrant communities there, and that has to do with low social trust. This is something that people talk about all the time on the right. In fact, if you watch Red Elephant's Vincent James, he's always talking about the book Bowling Alone and the Putnam study. These are studies that show that diverse communities do not have the same levels of social trust, and that causes problems. Guys, no balkanized society has ever survived. That's why they call it balkanization, because it's a reference to the Balkan states and the wars, like, the ones we saw in Bosnia and Herzegovina. These things are deadly. This kind of society is not sustainable. You have to have high trust. In the area where I live, there are people from different backgrounds, but we all have the same values. Most of the people here are Christian. Most of the people here want to have families. They have good family values. They love America. They love the First and Second Amendments. If you go around my neighborhood in the afternoon, and right now especially, you see people outside shooting because they know the police have other things to deal with, and we don't live in the city limits. So, we have fun here. We are united in this. When people needed toilet paper, people in this neighborhood were driving around giving people toilet paper. That is the kind of unity and community that you don't have in a place like New York City. And I think that is where we're going to see the biggest problems. It's not going to be in the suburbs. It's going to be in places like New York or San Francisco. And think about this, guys. It makes sense. You have people who have been inside for weeks now. Now, a place like New York City, they are in 600 square feet apartments in many cases. That's like being in prison. It's worse than being in prison in a lot of ways. You have food shortages, uncertainty. People who won't normally go out and riot or disrupt things, they're going to start doing that. And there's another statement from the head of the UFRC. It says that we have a lot of people who are living in very marginalized in so-called black hole communities. What a great word for it. Yeah, it's a black hole, all right. They're in the black hole of society, in the most difficult neighborhoods, in the biggest cities, and I'm afraid in a few weeks we will have major problems. So they are calling this a social bomb, and that is a direct quote from the president of the UFRC. And it is a social bomb, but this bomb was built long before the coronavirus. This bomb was built when they started letting migrants in by the millions from Africa into Europe. And right now we're seeing those are the people who are mostly rioting in places like Italy and Sweden. This bomb was built over decades of media propaganda, lies, and indoctrination in the public schools. The division we're seeing has built this bomb. In fact, they've added a nuclear component to it. The left, they say, don't let a crisis go to waste. Right now, what are we seeing? We're seeing the media lying constantly, trying to scare the hell out of everybody, trying to stoke division. We're seeing left-wing academics, people who teach our kids, are on Twitter blaming this on white privilege, blaming this whole outbreak on white people, and talking about looting the suburbs. So add that to the fact that the police are starting to get sick, that the left are intentionally releasing convicts, sending prisoners out on the street and saying that, oh, well, we're not going to arrest anybody for shoplifting. We're not going to arrest people. So they're giving them a get out of jail free card and getting them out of jail leading up to that. So yeah, what can we do? That's what I want to end with. I talk about how we need to be a revolutionary movement, stop being a reactionary movement. The left are not letting this crisis go to waste, and neither should we. There are a lot of things that are happening right now that I think we can turn around and make them good. Like right now, states are trying to stop people from moving in from other states. I think this is a great time to start trying to put secession networks together, put together groups of people who will lobby for secession of states or for a constitutional convention. I think right now is a great time to try to find lawyers who are like-minded. Go start looking up law firms in your local area and start calling them and find out what their political beliefs are and see if they can put together a suit for some of these behaviors like shutting down stores, shutting down gun shops. The right need to do that. And here's the big one, all right? With this kind of thing, especially if civil unrest breaks out, start building groups in your neighborhoods. Start building little civil defense groups. The left have done this for a long time now. We've seen it in places like Ferguson. They're so-called civil defense groups. What they are is riot groups. They're anarchist groups. They go in to cause chaos. Now we can be subversive. We can go out to the universities, do some things right now to trigger the left. Well, there's not going to be a lot of risk involved. But I'd love flyers, things like that. Go hit the universities with flyers, things like that. But we can also build these groups and have them as a defensive measure. Use them right now to train. Groups like Oath Keepers already do this, but we can do it in our neighborhoods. Find like-minded people who are willing to just walk at night, and while you walk, talk to them. Tell people about what's going on. Talk to them about your beliefs. Start planting those seeds. Talk about family and our values. And yeah, once this thing is over, those groups can be transformed. We can use them as political action groups. We can use them to find people in our area who are like-minded and promote them as candidates. So we can make good out of all of this. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few weeks, but I know we'll be okay. We have the guns, we have the prep, we're good. Let's just call our law enforcement, call the people who are in charge of these cities and let them know we're not going to tolerate this crap. That they are spending all this energy going after our rights, and they need to do the one job they're supposed to have, which is defend those rights. Defend them from government and defend them from rioters and looters. So use this time also to call those people. Contact your local representatives, contact your local sheriff, your local police force. Call them. I call mine all the time. I drive them crazy. I call the local school board, and that's something we need to do. It's like that South Park meme, one call means 10 million people watch this show. So you get it. Yeah. I'm out, guys. Like and subscribe, share the video. Like I said in the last one, I'm rusty. I haven't done videos in a while, so I'll hopefully get better over the next few weeks, get back into my groove. Take care.